The sound of expensive silverware against fine china created a delicate symphony at La Serenata, where power sat comfortably between marble columns and soft candlelight. Men in tailored suits nodded respectfully as the Mafia boss, the most feared man in Asheville, cut into his steak with surgical precision, his presence commanding the room without a single word. Outside, the fog rolled through the North Carolina pines, wrapping the isolated restaurant in a shroud that separated it from the ordinary world. Inside, waiters moved with practiced silence, knowing that in this establishment, interruptions could cost more than just a job. The boss's bodyguards stood at strategic points throughout the dining room, their eyes constantly scanning for threats while 3 businessmen at his table pretended to enjoy their meal. Their laughter never reached their eyes, their wine glasses never emptying too quickly. The negotiations had gone well, another territory secured without bloodshed, another handshake worth millions. All business as usual for the crime empire. His reputation for calculated violence and unwavering resolve had grown into a shadow that stretched across the entire state. A sudden change in the air's pressure made him look up, his instincts honed by years of sensing danger before it materialized. The restaurant's heavy wooden door had opened, bringing with it a gust of cold mountain air and something entirely unexpected. A small figure stepped into the warm glow of La Serenata, drawing confused glances from the wealthy patrons who were accustomed to exclusivity. The child couldn't have been more than 7 years old, her dress rumpled from what appeared to be a long journey. The maitre d' moved quickly to intercept this clear violation of the restaurant's unspoken rules, his professional smile strained at the edges. The girl ignored him completely, her eyes locked onto the boss with uncanny certainty. She walked directly toward his table, her steps leaving small wet prints on the polished floor, evidence of a desperate journey through the evening dew. The businessmen shifted uncomfortably, uncertain how to react to this unprecedented breach of protocol. The boss's closest guard moved to block her path, but something in the girl's determined expression made the boss raise his hand slightly, a gesture that froze everyone in mid-motion. The guard stepped back immediately, trained to recognize commands that required no words. The girl approached until she stood directly beside his chair, her eyes never wavering, showing neither fear nor the innocent hesitation one would expect from a child. With surprising boldness, she reached out and grabbed the sleeve of his custom-tailored jacket. "Your men just kidnapped my mom," she said, her voice steady despite its softness, cutting through the ambient noise of the restaurant like a blade through silk. The words hung in the air, dangerous and impossible to ignore. The boss studied her face carefully, noting the slight tremble in her lower lip that betrayed the courage it took to approach him. Despite her youth, he recognized the look of someone who had calculated their risks and decided that confronting danger directly was their only option. The restaurant's atmosphere shifted instantly, conversations falling silent as patrons pretended not to notice while straining to hear every word. The bodyguards tensed, hands instinctively moving closer to concealed weapons, awaiting instructions. The businessmen at the table exchanged nervous glances, their half-eaten meals forgotten, as they contemplated how this unexpected interruption might affect their carefully negotiated deals. Their faces betrayed a collective dread at being witnesses to whatever might follow. Time seemed suspended as the boss maintained eye contact with the child, neither yielding in a silent battle of wills that defied all conventional power dynamics. In his world, such boldness from anyone would have serious consequences. "I saw your car take her," the girl continued, her fingers still clutching his sleeve with surprising strength. "Black sedan, scratched left door, tinted windows. Your men weren't careful, and I followed on my bike until they stopped at a warehouse." The specificity of her description caused a barely perceptible change in the boss's expression. Not surprise, but the cold calculation of a man assessing new information that shouldn't exist. He glanced briefly at his head of security, who immediately understood the unspoken question. "Sit," the boss said, gesturing to the empty chair beside him, his voice carrying the quiet authority that had made men twice her size tremble. The girl released his sleeve but remained standing, her eyes never leaving his face. The maitre d' appeared with a glass of water, placing it before the child with a nervous flourish, before retreating hastily. No one in the restaurant dared to interfere, the unspoken rules of La Serenata dictating that the boss's table was sacrosanct territory. "They took her from our apartment an hour ago," the girl continued, her voice lowering but losing none of its intensity. "They said a name, Novak, but that's not us. We're Parker, and she didn't do anything wrong." The boss's security chief approached with deliberate slowness, bending to whisper something in his ear. while maintaining a respectful distance from the child. His words were too quiet for anyone else to hear, but the slight narrowing of the boss's eyes spoke volumes. "The men who took your mother, did they wear pins on their jackets?" the boss asked, his question seemingly irrelevant, but loaded with significance to those who understood his organization's hierarchy. "Little silver arrows here?" The girl nodded once, her eyes widening slightly at the confirmation that she had indeed found the right man. Two men, one tall with a scar above his eye, one shorter with a beard. They both had those pins and they both called someone boss on the phone. The security chief's expression hardened at this description, his hand moving subtly to his earpiece to relay instructions to the rest of the security team. The boss observed this reaction with the detached interest of someone noting yet another problem to solve. "What's your name?" the boss asked, his tone neither friendly nor threatening, simply factual, the voice of a man accustomed to gathering information efficiently. For the first time, the girl hesitated, weighing the risks of revealing more personal details. "Mia," she finally answered, offering only her first name as a calculated compromise between cooperation and caution. "My mom's name is Cora, and she works at St. Mary's Hospital as a nurse. She's not involved in whatever you think she did." The boss gestured again to the empty chair, and this time Mia complied, perching on the edge of the seat like a bird ready to take flight at the first sign of danger, her small hands folded neatly in her lap, a gesture of practiced composure that seemed strangely adult. One of the businessmen cleared his throat, an unspoken request to be excused from this unexpected situation. The boss acknowledged him with the barest nod, and all three men rose from their seats with the synchronized relief of prisoners granted unexpected parole. "How did you find me?" the boss asked once they were alone, genuine curiosity coloring his otherwise emotionless voice. The restaurant had resumed its hushed conversations, though every patron was acutely aware of the unusual tableau at the corner table. "I heard them say La Serenata when they were dragging her out," Mia replied, her matter-of-factness belying the trauma of witnessing her mother's abduction. "I looked it up, took my bike, and waited outside until I saw someone important arrive." The security chief returned, leaning in to murmur something else, and this time a flash of something, perhaps anger, perhaps surprise, crossed the boss's typically impassive face. He turned his full attention back to Mia, studying her with newfound intensity. "It seems there's been a mistake," he said finally, each word measured and precise, revealing nothing of the machinery now in motion behind the scenes. "Your mother was not the intended target, but rather someone in the apartment next to yours." A small, nearly imperceptible exhale escaped Mia. Not relief, not yet, but the first acknowledgement that her desperate gamble might pay off. "So you'll let her go?" she asked, her voice betraying the tiniest quaver, the first crack in her remarkable composure. A nod from the boss sent the security chief away again, this time with more urgency in his step. The boss himself stood, buttoning his jacket with the automatic precision of someone to whom appearance was both armor and weapon. "We're going to get her now." The black Mercedes waited at the curb, engine humming with quiet power, the driver stepping out immediately to open the rear door. The boss gestured for Mia to enter first, a courtesy that seemed at odds with the circumstances of their unusual acquaintance. Inside, the leather seats creaked softly as they settled in, the interior smelling of expensive cologne and the faint metallic tang of gun oil. Mia sat perfectly still, her small frame dwarfed by the spacious back seat, her eyes fixed on the passing streetlights. "How did you know which car to follow?" the boss asked, breaking the silence as they wound through Asheville's misty streets. He seemed genuinely curious about her methods, perhaps even impressed by the resourcefulness of someone so young. "Mom taught me to notice details. She says it keeps you safe," Mia replied, her gaze still on the window. "The tall man has a unique walk, limps slightly on his right side. I spotted him 3 blocks away and just kept following." The driver navigated through increasingly industrial areas of the city, passing shuttered warehouses and empty loading docks. The boss made a phone call, speaking in low tones that Mia couldn't quite make out, despite her obvious attempts to eavesdrop. Tension filled the car as they approached their destination, a nondescript concrete building with a single light burning above a metal door. 2 men stood guard outside, straightening immediately at the sight of the approaching Mercedes. "Wait here," the boss commanded as the car stopped, his tone making it clear this was not a suggestion. Mia nodded once, watching intently as he exited the vehicle and approached his men, who visibly stiffened at his unexpected arrival. Words were exchanged, too distant for Mia to hear, but the body language of the guards told a story of confusion and mounting concern. One man gestured defensively, the other checked his phone repeatedly, both clearly unprepared for their boss's presence. Through the car window, Mia watched the boss enter the building, followed closely by his anxious subordinates. Minutes stretched like hours as she waited, her small fists clenched tightly in her lap, eyes never leaving the metal door through which he had disappeared. When the door finally opened again, the boss emerged alone, his expression unchanged, but his pace quicker, more purposeful. He returned to the car and slid into the seat beside Mia, nodding once to the driver who immediately put the vehicle in motion. "Was she there?" Mia asked, unable to contain the question any longer, her composure finally cracking under the weight of uncertainty. "Did they hurt her?" Her voice trembled slightly, betraying the fear she had so valiantly suppressed. "She's unharmed," the boss replied, his tone matter-of-fact but not unkind. "My men are bringing her out now in a separate vehicle. We'll meet them at a safer location." He studied Mia's reaction carefully, noting the skepticism that flashed across her young features. As if sensing her doubt, he added, "I gave explicit orders that she's to be treated with respect." Something in his voice suggested that disobedience to these orders would have consequences too severe to contemplate, even for a child's imagination. The car turned onto a narrow road leading away from the industrial district, climbing slightly into the wooded hills that surrounded Asheville. Mia's tense shoulders relaxed incrementally with each mile that passed, distance creating a buffer between them and danger. They arrived at a small clearing where another black car was already waiting, its headlights cutting through the misty darkness. Before their Mercedes had fully stopped, Mia was straining against her seatbelt, eyes searching desperately for confirmation. The rear door of the other vehicle opened, and a woman emerged, disheveled but moving under her own power. Even in the dim light, the resemblance between mother and daughter was unmistakable. The same determined set of the jaw, the same watchful eyes. Ignoring the boss completely, Mia flung open her door and ran to her mother, who dropped to her knees to catch her daughter in an embrace that spoke of terror and relief in equal measure. They clung to each other, forming a small island of connection in the night. The boss observed the reunion from a respectful distance, his face betraying nothing of his thoughts, as he watched this brief moment of vulnerability. Only the slight loosening of his tie indicated any emotional response to the scene unfolding before him. Cora stood slowly, keeping Mia pressed against her side, her protective stance making it clear that she would not let her daughter out of her reach again. Her eyes met the boss's with a complex mixture of gratitude and wariness that acknowledged their unusual circumstances. "Thank you," she said simply, her voice steady despite the ordeal she had just endured, her dignity intact even with her hair disheveled and a small tear in her nurse's uniform. The words carried the weight of reluctant debt, one she never expected to owe. The boss inclined his head slightly, accepting her gratitude with the same detached precision he applied to all transactions. "A mistake was made," he replied, the admission unusual from a man who rarely acknowledged errors. "I correct my mistakes." He gestured toward the Mercedes, an invitation rather than a command this time. "I'll have you taken home safely," he said, his tone businesslike but lacking the cold edge that typically characterized his interactions. "My men will not bother you again." Cora hesitated, clearly weighing the risks of accepting further assistance against the practical reality of being stranded in the woods after dark. Mia tugged gently at her mother's hand, a silent signal of trust that tipped the balance toward pragmatism. The drive back into Asheville proceeded in silence, the interior of the car electric with unspoken questions and tentative relief. The boss made a brief call, his voice too low to be overheard, but his instructions resulted in a subtle change of direction. Instead of heading toward the apartment building where Cora and Mia lived, the driver took them to a small hotel on the outskirts of town, its modest exterior belying the security measures visible to a trained eye. The boss noted Cora's questioning look, but offered no explanation. "You'll stay here tonight," he said, as the car stopped, his tone making it clear this was not negotiable. "Your apartment is being watched by Novak's people, the ones who were actually looking for your neighbor." The revelation hung in the air between them. Cora's expression hardened at this new information, her arm tightening protectively around Mia's shoulders. "Who exactly is after my neighbor, and why am I caught in the middle?" she asked, her voice low enough that Mia couldn't hear the edge of fear beneath it. The boss studied her for a moment, seemingly calculating how much to reveal. "Your neighbor works for the district attorney's office, handling evidence for certain high-profile cases," he explained with clinical detachment. "Not everyone wants those cases to proceed. Understanding dawned in Cora's eyes as she processed the implications, pieces falling into place with terrible clarity. "And because we share a back entrance to the building, your men grabbed the wrong person," she concluded, her voice steady despite the revelation. "My competitor's men," the boss corrected, a subtle but significant distinction in his world. "I'm not in the business of kidnapping legal assistance." His tone carried a hint of professional affront, as if the very suggestion offended his sense of criminal ethics. The hotel room was simple, but clean, with 2 beds and heavy curtains already drawn against prying eyes. A small suitcase sat on the dresser, containing essentials that somehow matched Cora and Mia's sizes exactly, a detail that clearly unsettled Cora. "How did you know?" she began, but the boss cut her off with a slight wave of his hand. "My business requires attention to detail," he said, offering nothing more as he placed a card on the nightstand with a single phone number written in precise handwriting. "If there's trouble, call this number," he instructed, already moving toward the door with the smooth efficiency of someone accustomed to leaving situations once they've been resolved to his satisfaction. "The room is paid for 3 nights. Stay until I send word it's safe." Before exiting, he paused, turning slightly to address Mia, who had remained unusually quiet throughout the exchange. "You showed remarkable courage tonight," he said, his tone softer than Cora had yet heard. "Your mother should be proud." With that, he was gone, the door closing softly behind him as mother and daughter stood in the silent room, processing the strange turn their lives had taken in the span of a few hours. Outside, the black Mercedes disappeared into the night, its mission complete. 3 days passed in the anonymous safety of the hotel room, Cora and Mia venturing out only for brief walks around the perimeter of the property. The desk clerk never asked questions, but always nodded respectfully, as if they were expected guests of high importance. On the morning of the 4th day, a different black car arrived, this one driven by a woman whose professional demeanor suggested law enforcement rather than criminal enterprise. She delivered an envelope containing keys to a new apartment across town and documents for a transfer to a different hospital. "Your former residence has been compromised," the woman explained with clinical detachment, avoiding any mention of the boss or his organization. "These accommodations have been arranged for your security." The implication that refusal wasn't an option hung in the air. Cora accepted the envelope with a mixture of resignation and relief, understanding that this strange protection came with strings attached, strings she couldn't yet see but would eventually feel. Mia watched the exchange with the solemn calculation of a child who had grown up too quickly. The new apartment was larger than their previous home, located in a secure building with a doorman and security cameras in the lobby. Fresh groceries filled the refrigerator, and the closets contained clothing in their exact sizes, another unsettling demonstration of thoroughness. "Do you think he's watching us?" Mia asked that evening as they ate dinner at their new kitchen table, her voice carrying the peculiar blend of fear and fascination that children sometimes develop toward powerful figures. "Is that why he knows everything about us?" Cora considered her answer carefully, balancing honesty against her daughter's need for security. "I think he makes it his business to know things," she finally replied. "But that doesn't mean he's focused on us specifically." The reassurance felt hollow, even as she spoke it. 2 weeks passed in relative normalcy, Cora adjusting to her new position at the hospital while Mia adapted to a different route to school. The events of that night began to take on the quality of a shared nightmare, vivid but increasingly distant from their daily reality. Then one evening, as Cora was leaving her shift, a black Mercedes pulled alongside her in the parking lot, the rear window lowering to reveal the boss's impassive face. "Get in," he said simply, the words somewhere between request and command. "There are matters to discuss." Cora hesitated only briefly before complying, her instincts telling her that this man had not gone to such lengths to ensure their safety, only to harm her now. The car glided through traffic toward La Serenata, the restaurant where everything had begun. The dining room was empty save for a single table in the corner, set for 2 and illuminated by candlelight. The boss gestured for her to sit, maintaining a formal distance that acknowledged the unusual nature of their connection. "You've settled into your new position," he observed. "You've been monitoring me," Cora replied, neither a question nor an accusation, but a simple statement of fact. She met his gaze directly, determined to show no fear despite the power imbalance between them. "Why am I here tonight?" The boss signaled to a waiter who appeared silently with 2 glasses of wine, then vanished again with practiced discretion. "Novak was arrested yesterday," he said, after taking a measured sip. "The threat to your former neighbor, and by extension to you, has been neutralized." Cora absorbed this information, unsure whether to feel relief or deeper concern at being included in this criminal confidence. "So, we're free to go back to our lives?" she asked, unable to keep a note of skepticism from her voice. "No further connection to your world?" A ghost of a smile touched the boss's lips, there and gone so quickly it might have been imagined. "Connections, once formed, are rarely severed so cleanly," he replied, his words carrying layers of meaning beyond their surface. "But you're not in danger anymore." He reached into his jacket and withdrew a small velvet box, placing it on the table between them. "This belongs to your daughter," he said, nodding for Cora to open it. Inside lay a delicate silver necklace with a small pendant, a tiny arrow matching the pins his men wore. "Why would this belong to Mia?" Cora asked, confusion and wariness mingling in her expression as she studied the necklace without touching it. "She's never owned anything like this." The implication of a gift from him carried complications she wasn't prepared to accept. The boss leaned forward slightly, his usual mask of detachment slipping to reveal something more complex beneath. "It's not a gift, it's protection," he explained, his voice lowered, though no one else was present to hear. "Anyone who sees this will know she's under my security." Cora closed the velvet box without taking the necklace, pushing it gently back across the table. "I appreciate what you did for us," she said carefully, "but we can't be connected to your world." Her voice carried the quiet conviction of a line she wouldn't cross. The boss made no move to retrieve the box, his expression unchanged as he studied her refusal. "You misunderstand," he replied after a moment, his tone neutral but intent. "This isn't an invitation into my organization. It's insurance against ever being mistaken for a target again." A waiter appeared with their first course, the timing too perfect to be coincidental, creating a natural pause in the conversation. Cora used the interruption to gather her thoughts, weighing practicality against the principle of remaining untangled from this man's influence. "My daughter found you because she's observant and resourceful," she finally said, meeting his gaze directly. "Those qualities will protect her better than any symbol." The statement carried both maternal pride and a subtle rejection of his offered protection. Something shifted in the boss's expression, not disappointment, but a new assessment, as if Cora had surprised him. "Your daughter risked everything approaching me that night," he observed. "That kind of courage deserves recognition in my world." He took another sip of wine, his movements deliberately slow as if giving her time to reconsider. "There are men in this city who would think nothing of eliminating witnesses, even young ones," he continued, the implicit warning clear beneath his measured tone. Cora tensed at the mention of danger to Mia, her protective instincts flaring instantly. "Are you threatening us?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper but sharp with sudden fear. "Is this how you ensure our compliance?" The boss shook his head once, decisively. "If I wanted your compliance, I would have demanded it the night we met," he replied, something almost like offense coloring his tone. "I'm offering protection without asking anything in return, an unusual arrangement in my experience." Their main courses arrived, perfectly timed again to ease the tension that had built between them. They ate in silence for several minutes, the exquisite food at odds with the complex negotiation taking place across the table. "Why?" Cora finally asked, setting down her fork to focus entirely on him. "Why invest in our safety when we're nothing to your organization?" The question hung between them, direct and unavoidable. "What possible value do we have to someone like you?" The boss considered her for a long moment before answering, his customary calculation giving way to something that might have been honesty. "Your daughter's actions that night, they reminded me of someone I once knew," he admitted, the personal revelation clearly unusual for him. Cora waited, sensing there was more he wasn't saying, the candlelight casting shadows across his features that seemed to reveal and conceal in equal measure. The restaurant remained eerily empty, creating the illusion that time itself had paused for their conversation. "Someone important to you," she prompted when he didn't continue, her nursing instincts recognizing the signs of a painful memory beneath his controlled exterior. "Someone you couldn't protect." The guess was intuitive rather than informed, but his slight tensing confirmed its accuracy. He didn't acknowledge her insight directly, instead returning to the business at hand with practiced detachment. "The necklace is yours to accept or refuse," he said, rising from his chair with the conversation clearly concluded. "But my protection remains either way." As he prepared to leave, Cora made a decision, reaching for the velvet box and opening it again. "I'll keep it," she said quietly, not as a symbol of ownership, but as acknowledgement of a debt. She met his eyes with the same directness Mia had shown that first night, The boss nodded once, accepting her terms without comment. "A car will take you home," he said, gesturing toward the entrance where his driver was already waiting. "We won't speak again unless absolutely necessary." The statement carried the weight of both promise and warning. As Cora walked toward the exit, she turned back briefly to find him watching her with an expression she couldn't quite interpret. Not the calculating assessment of a criminal assessing an asset, but something more human, more complex, that vanished the moment their eyes met. The black Mercedes delivered her home in silence, the driver never speaking as they wound through Asheville's nighttime streets. When Cora entered the apartment, she found Mia asleep on the couch, a book about flowers open on her lap, an ordinary moment in a life that had briefly touched the extraordinary. Months passed, seasons shifted, and Asheville's mountain air turned crisp with autumn as Cora and Mia settled into their new lives. The necklace remained in its velvet box, tucked away in Cora's dresser drawer, acknowledged but unused, a reminder of power and obligation held in careful balance. October arrived with its palette of reds and golds, transforming the mountains surrounding the city into a canvas of fiery colors. Mia thrived in her new school, her natural intelligence and quiet confidence earning her both academic success and cautious friendships. Cora's position at the hospital had evolved from temporary placement to permanent role, her competence and dedication recognized by the administration. The night shift suited her, allowing more daytime hours with Mia and gradually erasing the dark circles that had lingered beneath her eyes since the abduction. On a particularly beautiful Saturday, they ventured to a small farmer's market on the outskirts of town, enjoying the simple pleasure of selecting fresh apples and handmade bread. Neither noticed the black sedan parked discreetly across the street, its windows tinted against curious glances. It was Mia who spotted him first, the boss, standing alone at a flower vendor's stall, examining a bouquet of white lilies with unexpected attentiveness. He wore no tie, his collar open at the throat, looking almost ordinary in the autumn sunlight despite the two men maintaining a respectful distance behind him. "Mom," Mia whispered, her hand tightening around Cora's with instinctive caution. "He's here." The simple statement carried complex emotions, wariness, curiosity, and the peculiar connection forged in moments of crisis that never fully dissolves. Cora considered walking away, pretending they hadn't seen him, but something in Mia's expression, a need for closure perhaps, or simple curiosity, made her pause. With a reassuring squeeze of her daughter's hand, she guided them toward the flower stall, approaching not with fear, but with cautious acknowledgement. The boss sensed their presence before turning, his posture shifting subtly in recognition, though his expression remained neutral as they stopped beside him. "Good morning," he said simply, no surprise in his voice, as if their paths crossing in this peaceful setting had been entirely expected. "Do you like flowers?" Mia asked directly, her bluntness reminiscent of their first encounter, though this time curiosity rather than desperation drove her question. The vendor busied himself with another customer, intuitively giving them privacy. A flicker of something, amusement perhaps, or approval, crossed the boss's face at her directness. "I appreciate their honesty," he replied, his answer surprisingly thoughtful as he gestured toward the lilies. "They make no pretense about their nature or purpose." Cora watched this exchange with quiet assessment, noting the absence of fear in Mia's demeanor and the unusual patience in the boss's response. "We haven't used the necklace," she said after a moment, her tone conversational, but carrying the weight of unresolved business between them. "Yet you've been safe," he observed, selecting a small bouquet with deliberate care and paying the vendor without haggling, an unusual courtesy in the market's culture of friendly negotiation. That was the intended outcome, regardless of methods. The three of them moved away from the stall, walking along the market's perimeter, where conversation could occur more privately. Mia, sensing the need for adult discussion, drifted slightly ahead, examining displays while staying within her mother's sight. "You've been watching us," Cora stated, not a question but a confirmation of what she had suspected during these months of apparent normalcy. She kept her voice even, free from accusation but firm in establishing boundaries. "Monitoring our new lives." The boss nodded once, neither apologetic nor defensive about the surveillance. "Protective measures," he clarified, his gaze following Mia as she examined a display of handmade wooden toys. "Minimal intrusion, maximum security, a balance I thought you would prefer." They walked in silence for several steps, the morning sunlight casting their shadows side by side on the pavement. a temporary alignment of worlds that normally existed in separate orbits. Around them, families shopped and vendors called their wares, the ordinary Saturday continuing undisturbed. "Why are you really here today?" Cora finally asked, her question cutting through the pretense of coincidental meeting. "You don't seem like a man who browses farmers' markets without purpose." The observation was delivered with the same directness her daughter had demonstrated. He considered her question with unusual openness, the calculating mask slipping momentarily to reveal something more complex beneath. "Sometimes I find myself curious about ordinary moments," he admitted, the confession clearly costing him something in vulnerability. "The lives that continue undisturbed by my world." Cora absorbed this unexpected revelation, recalibrating her understanding of this man who had entered their lives through violence, yet maintained connection through a strange form of honor. "Are there many ordinary moments in your life?" she asked, the question gentler than she had intended. "Fewer than I once believed possible," he replied after a thoughtful pause, his gaze distant as if seeing beyond the market to something only he could perceive. "Power creates isolation, a fact they don't mention when you begin acquiring it." Mia returned to them, holding a small carved bird that had caught her fancy, oblivious to the weight of the conversation she had interrupted. The boss examined her find with surprising attentiveness, commenting on the craftsmanship with genuine appreciation rather than performative interest. As they prepared to leave the market, the boss handed the bouquet of lilies to Cora with a gesture that somehow avoided both romantic implication and power assertion. "For your home," he said simply, no significance beyond appreciation for your daughter's courage that night. Cora accepted the flowers with careful neutrality, maintaining the delicate balance they had established. "Thank you for the conversation," she replied, her words chosen to acknowledge the rarity of their peaceful interaction while setting no expectation for its repetition. Before they parted, the boss crouched slightly to meet Mia at eye level, his movement causing his security detail to tense visibly before relaxing at his subtle hand signal. "You once found me when professionals couldn't," he said, his tone carrying unusual respect. "That's a rare talent." Mia studied him with the unfiltered curiosity of childhood, seemingly unaffected by the power he wielded in the adult world. "Would you have found my mom if I hadn't come to the restaurant?" she asked, the question cutting to the heart of what remained unresolved between them. He considered her question with surprising seriousness, giving her the respect of an honest answer rather than a comforting falsehood. "No," he finally said. "I wouldn't have known about the mistake until much later." The admission carried the weight of accountability rarely displayed in his world. "Then we're even," Mia declared, with the straightforward logic of a child, extending her small hand as if to seal a business arrangement. "You helped us. We helped you fix your mistake." The simplicity of her assessment brought a rare, genuine smile to the boss's face. He shook her hand with formal gravity, treating the gesture with the same respect he would show to his most important business associates. "A fair assessment," he agreed, rising to his full height and nodding once to Cora in acknowledgement of the unusual bond that now existed between them. As they walked away, Cora noticed Mia's thoughtful expression, the wheels of her active mind visibly turning. "He seems less scary in the daylight," her daughter finally observed, her perception cutting through appearance to essence with characteristic insight. "Power looks different depending on where you're standing," Cora replied carefully, guiding them toward their car, while resisting the urge to look back at the man who remained watching their departure. "Sometimes it protects, sometimes it threatens. Often it does both simultaneously." That evening, as Cora arranged the lilies in a crystal vase, a surprising inclusion in their new apartment's furnishings, she found herself contemplating the strange intersection of their lives with a man whose name they still didn't know. The flowers seemed incongruously delicate against the weight of their shared history. Mia appeared in the kitchen doorway, watching her mother with the quiet assessment that had become more pronounced since the night of the abduction. "Are we friends with him now?" she asked, the question containing layers of complexity beyond her years. "Not friends," Cora answered thoughtfully, selecting her words with care, "but not enemies either. Sometimes life creates connections that don't have simple names." She adjusted the flowers, buying time to find the right explanation for their unusual situation. Mia nodded, seemingly satisfied with this nuanced answer, where another child might have demanded clearer boundaries. "Like how you can dislike someone but still respect them," she suggested, demonstrating the emotional intelligence that had guided her through their ordeal. Later that night, after Mia had gone to bed, Cora retrieved the velvet box from her dresser drawer, opening it to examine the necklace in the soft lamplight. The silver arrow pendant caught the light, transforming from symbol of ownership to emblem of strange protection. With decision born of pragmatism rather than surrender, she fastened it around her neck, the weight of the pendant resting against her collarbone, like a tangible reminder of worlds colliding. Not acceptance of his authority, but acknowledgement of an unusual alliance formed through crisis and resolution. The following morning, she wore the necklace to her shift at the hospital, tucked discreetly beneath her scrubs, but occasionally visible when she leaned forward. By midday, she noticed subtle changes in how certain patients with distinctive tattoos addressed her. Increased respect, careful courtesy, eyes lingering on the pendant with recognition. A week later, a delivery arrived at the hospital. A small potted orchid with no card but exquisite care instructions. The message was clear without words. He had noticed her decision and acknowledged it with characteristic subtlety, maintaining the delicate balance between protection and interference. 2 months passed in peaceful routine, autumn deepening into winter as Asheville prepared for the holiday season. Cora wore the necklace consistently now, though never with Mia present. A private decision she maintained for reasons she couldn't fully articulate even to herself. December arrived with a gentle snowfall that transformed Asheville into a postcard-perfect mountain town, white-dusted pines and twinkling lights creating an atmosphere of peaceful celebration. Cora and Mia established new holiday traditions in their apartment, baking cookies and decorating a small tree placed strategically in the window. The necklace had become a habit now, neither a statement nor a surrender, but simply part of Cora's daily routine. Protection integrated so seamlessly into normal life that its significance had almost faded from conscious thought. Almost, but not entirely. On Christmas Eve, Cora's shift ended early, the hospital quieter than usual, as patients who could be discharged had gone home to families and celebrations. She walked through the parking garage with keys in hand, lost in thoughts of the small gifts waiting to be wrapped once Mia went to sleep. A figure stepped from between parked cars. Not the boss, but a man with cold eyes and a knife held low against his leg, his intentions clear in his focused movement, and the way he blocked her path to the exit. "The necklace," he demanded, his voice rough with either drink or desperation. "Give it now." Recognition flashed in his eyes as the pendant caught the fluorescent lighting, followed immediately by confusion, and then dawning horror as he realized whose protection she carried. He stumbled backward, knife lowering, mouth forming words that never emerged as a black car pulled alongside them. The boss stepped out unhurriedly, his presence transforming the parking structure's atmosphere without a word spoken. The would-be attacker paled visibly, dropping the knife with a metallic clatter that echoed through the concrete space. "I didn't know she was yours," he stammered, backing away. "She isn't mine," the boss corrected with dangerous softness, his gaze never leaving the man's face. "She's under my protection. A distinction you would be wise to remember." The simple statement carried such weight that the attacker seemed to physically shrink beneath it. A slight nod from the boss sent 2 men emerging from the car to escort the attacker away, their grip professional and discreet, their actions requiring no explicit instructions. Cora watched this efficient handling of threat with complicated emotions. Gratitude mingled with unease at the casual display of power. "You were followed," the boss explained, turning to her with his usual economy of words. "My men intervened when they recognized the threat profile." His tone suggested this was merely business as usual, a minor adjustment in security parameters rather than a life-threatening encounter. Cora's hand moved instinctively to the arrow pendant, understanding now the true extent of the protection it provided. "Thank you," she said simply, the words inadequate but sincere. "For Mia's sake." The qualification was important to her, maintaining the boundaries she had established. He acknowledged her gratitude with a slight inclination of his head, observing her with that same assessing gaze that seemed to catalog details others would miss. "You've been working double shifts," he noted, the observation suggesting a level of monitoring she hadn't anticipated. "Medical school fund," Cora explained briefly, surprised to find herself sharing personal goals with this man who existed so far outside her normal life. For Mia, eventually, if that's what she wants. The dream of providing opportunities beyond their current circumstances had driven her exhausting schedule. Something shifted in the boss's expression, not quite softening, but a recognition of shared understanding despite their different worlds. "Education matters," he agreed with unexpected conviction. "It opens doors that can't be forced." The comment hinted at personal experience he didn't elaborate upon. 3 days after Christmas, an envelope arrived at their apartment by courier, containing admission papers to Asheville's most prestigious private school, with Mia's name already filled in, and tuition marked as scholarship, paid in full. No note accompanied the documents. None was needed. Cora's first instinct was refusal. The gesture crossed boundaries she had carefully maintained, creating an obligation she hadn't agreed to accept. Yet watching Mia examine the school's brochure with excited interest, pointing out the science lab and extensive library, she found her resistance wavering. After putting Mia to bed that night, Cora stood at their apartment window, watching snowflakes drift through the glow of streetlights as she contemplated this unexpected development. The necklace weighed against her collarbone, a physical reminder of connections formed through crisis that continued evolving in unexpected ways. Her decision came not through surrender, but through pragmatic assessment of what truly mattered. Mia's future opportunities weighed against pride and independence. With careful deliberation, she placed a call to the number she still remembered, waiting through several rings before he answered. "We accept the school," she said without preamble, her voice carrying both gratitude and boundary setting in equal measure. "But this completes any obligation between us." She needed this clearly established, a ledger balanced and closed, rather than an open account of escalating debt. His response came after a thoughtful pause, carrying unexpected depth beneath its surface simplicity. "Some connections aren't about obligation," he said quietly. "Sometimes they simply exist." The philosophy seemed at odds with the transactional world he inhabited, yet entirely genuine in its delivery. Spring arrived in Asheville with its explosion of dogwood and redbud blossoms, nature's celebration of renewal and possibility. Mia flourished at her new school, her natural intelligence finding challenge and encouragement in equal measure, while Cora watched with quiet pride from the periphery of school events. Occasionally at these gatherings, Cora would notice a black car parked discreetly across the street, or catch a glimpse of one of his men maintaining respectful distance while ensuring their safety. The boss himself never appeared, honoring the boundaries she had established while maintaining the protection he had promised. In those moments, Cora would touch the arrow pendant that had become part of her daily life, acknowledging the strange intersection of worlds that had forever altered their path. Not friends, not enemies, but connected through an experience that defied simple categorization. A reminder that even in darkness, unexpected light sometimes emerges. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the shadows and light of unexpected connections. If you enjoyed this story of courage, protection, and the complex bonds formed in moments of crisis, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments below. Your support means everything and helps us continue bringing these immersive stories to life. Until next time, remember that sometimes the most meaningful connections come from the most unexpected encounters.
Сейчас зайдем, посмотрим, как у них трансляция началась. Если вот рассматривать, я говорю, задумываясь о том, что прожитые типа 30 лет, так смотришь на многих людей, которые сейчас, соответственно, живут, которым в районе 30, которые уже потеряли вообще вкус к жизни, да, радость какую-то от жизни. Таких, причем, кстати, становится все больше и больше. Мне кажется, этот средний возраст, когда говорили, что начинается вот этот кризис среднего возраста, он тоже сместился, как и говорят, что сейчас люди, в принципе, быстрее взрослеют, быстрее осмысливают все, да, почему-то это всегда все в плохом больше ключе на самом деле, да, вот что сейчас дети, к примеру, быстрее взрослеют, вот, и мне кажется, кризис вот этот среднего возраста, он, наверное, тоже сместился. И вот я думаю, что он сместился где-то в районе 30 лет. Опять-таки, это тоже не со всеми, наверное, связано. Не у всех людей так, все люди разные. И как-то приходишь к той мысли, о том, что помимо того, что люди сами по себе стали такие вот, наверное, депрессивные, да, времена такие сложные, да, вот это вот еще извне много каких вещей случается, ну, на данный момент, которые людям усугубляют эту ситуацию на самом деле, вот этой депрессии, вот этих кризисов, да, каких-то переходных моментов в жизни. И непонятно, если конец этому всему, да, наступает у людей потом белая полоса в жизни, или они не могут выбраться из нее. Примеров достаточно на самом деле много. К примеру, вот сосед у меня есть такой хороший парень был. И есть, он хороший человек сам по себе. Но вот у него сейчас очень сложные времена такие, как бы дизмораль на него напала. О том, что он не реализовался в своей жизни к 30 годам, что жизнь у него кончена. И не может он выбраться из этой ситуации. Да? Как бы, как говорят, если мы говорим, что это мужики такие, да, типа слабые, да, какие-то, ну, безморальные, ну, как бы такие вот, что в основном это случается, наверное, зачастую, может быть, это у мужиков случается в этом возрасте, такой кризис, наверное, да, каких-то неудач в своей жизни, не пришедших ни к чему достойному и хорошему. Но вопрос в том, что это мужики такие, типа слабые, или времена такие стали, что если вот разобраться так, вот, например, возьмем даже с древних времен, когда человеку нужно было добывать пищу самому, да, там убивать мамонтов, мужику стоило там сходить на охоту. Да, на охоту он сходил, кого-то там добыл добычу, принес домой, да, что-то где-то там поделал дома, и все как бы. Ну и это, возможно, как работа тоже на ежедневной основе, да, была. И как бы мужик в то время считался, но еще воином были, они воинами были, не воевали, да. В любом случае это все такая в основном физическая была работа, типа стратегии именно добычи пищи какой-то себе. Ну, тут вот требовалось, возможно, какое-то знание, да, тут я не спорю. Но в основном это была физическая работа. Если взять, к примеру, не такие далекие времена, когда там люди вот только выходили из пещер, да, взять даже, допустим, 50 лет назад, 100 лет назад, да, когда люди работали на заводах, и что тогда считалось именно мужиком, да, таким. Разница была, наверное, с нынешними временами в том, что если ты работал, к примеру, на заводе на каком-то, то тебе было этого всего достаточно. То есть ты уходил на завод, отработал свое время, да, пришел домой, какие-то тоже там, может, домашние дела, и, ну, и этого тебе было достаточно на самом деле. Как бы и все, и заключалась вся суть именно мужчин, ну вот, как бы устроиться главное на завод и работать физически, опять-таки, да, получить какое-то образование, так, ну, как бы среднеспециальное, к примеру, да, какой-нибудь токарь, идти на завод, отработать там 8-12 часов. Ну, это не легкая работа, я не спорю тоже с этим. Но опять-таки, этого зато было достаточно. Человек уходил, он отрабатывал там 12 часов и понимал, что ему будет всего достаточно. Ради этого и была, наверное, главная и основная мотивация. Да? И если перенесемся мы, наверное, в наше время уже, сейчас, на данный момент, то есть люди просто не знают на самом деле, как заработать, как получить жилье, как получить новый автомобиль. То есть способов получения данного результата, его нету как такового. Это говоря о том, что ты будешь ходить на работу по 8, по 12 часов, допустим, сутками там работать, да, ты не заработаешь на машину, заработаешь ты на ней через 5 лет, если ты там не будешь ни пить, ни есть, как бы, да. Ну ладно, если вообще не тратить деньги, то заработаешь год. Ну такого же невозможно, это же только где-то в сказках. С учетом нынешних трат, то есть даже при зарплате какой-то средней, там 100 тысяч рублей, ну где-то 60, где-то 70, где-то 80. Возьмем от 60, наверное, до 120. То есть, к примеру, достижение результата такой, как, к примеру, квартира, недвижка какая-то своя, это кредиты, ипотеки. То есть вот здесь и сейчас ты берешь. И залазя все глубже и глубже, то есть, как сказать, взял ты, к примеру, себе недвижимость, да, в ипотеку, пусть она будет так. Помимо тех трат, к примеру, помимо этой ипотеки, там ремонт и так далее, тебе за эти 20 лет нужно и телефоны менять, и одежду менять, и так далее, там кушать надо. Машины также в этот же момент менять тебе надо. И то есть это кабала на самом деле такая, она дизморальная. И к чему это все? Что же значит мужик в наше время, который ходит на завод, работает 12 часов, а денег у него все равно нету. Как бы добычу он принести уже не может, да? Ну типа он может сходить в лес, но от этого толку особо не будет. И, наверное, сам интернет, во-первых, расфорсил вот это вот все, то, что люди должны зарабатывать какие-то миллионы. Они должны зарабатывать. Это было бы шикарно, если бы каждый зарабатывал. Но каждый по своей сути не может столько зарабатывать, да, потому что не хватит денег, чтобы каждый. А может их и хватит, но никто никому не даст так зарабатывать. И вот возвращаясь, к примеру, к тому, что какая зарплата? 1300, наверное, должна быть в наше время, чтобы как бы себя, наверное, обеспечивать, да, хорошо, одному. И кто же тогда мужик в наше время? Типа, что он должен делать? Что он должен выполнять? Как бы, если он ходит на работу, но смысла от этого нету. Ну, как бы он есть, да, у тебя какой-то идет доход, но если его недостаточно. Смотришь другие профессии, другую работу, да,